Okay.
All right. Well, we're ready for our subcommittee meeting this morning for operations personnel, county procedures and public records. And roll call with Patty Garcia's here. Maureen.
Yes.
Olivia. And of course, Paul.
Here.
So hopefully you have the agenda, draft agenda.
Yes.
So one of the first things we want to do is talk about convene and the agenda. Does anybody want to add anything at this time?
No.
So I don't put on that agenda what Maureen and I have been talking about elected county salaries. Can we put that on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, so added.
Can I ask you something, Paul?
Yeah, go.
I think the whole topic of salaries is going to want to be discussed by some of the other departments.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we should, when we get to it, talk about how we can share some of that information. You might be on a committee in which that will come up.
Okay, so we'll talk about that when we get down to it. Anything else that needs to be brought up for the agenda?
I think I started taking notes, but do you want me to take notes for
yes.
the meeting, or do you want to designate someone else? What would you like to do, Paul?
Anybody want to volunteer to take minutes?
I think it's great that Olivia does it. I'm taking notes for my other two committees.
Got it.
Well,
No problem.
can I make a suggestion?
Go ahead, Maureen.
For the electeds versus appointed, I'm asking everyone to write 4 or 5 sentences highlighting or summarizing their points that they make in the meeting. Therefore, no one person is responsible. Everybody should be responsible for their own content. I mean, you can't talk about things that didn't get said, but you should just write 4 or 5 sentences of what you did offer. And I think that that's tidier, can be collated, and that can be minutes.
Excellent. Thank you, Maureen.
How's your committee compiling that information?
I am on electeds. Everybody sends it to me. I put it on one sheet, and I'm treating that as the official minutes of that meeting.
Wow.
I'm finding that it works for us to just write down who says what when. It follows through. People don't necessarily have just one thing to say or 3 or 4 things that they want to say. It's more of a response, and yeah, this person said that and this one responded to it, and it gives you more of a feel of what actually happened at the meeting. I mean, they're not public notes, but they're just reminders for, oh yeah, this is what happened at the meetings, rather than making me tell you what I want, which I really don't know until I'm at the meeting and discussing things with people. I would rather not have to do that, Maureen.
Well,
May I offer a suggestion? Could we do a format that Maureen is suggesting? And also, Patty, if you could do yours, I think the two together would make a wonderful reflection of what happened at this meeting. Is that at all feasible?
Well,
worked for me.
yeah, obviously it covers both sides.
Yeah, I think so. Is that okay, Olivia?
So
Sure. I'm happy to take down just like the basics, like if we have any just basic topics, motions, if we have any roll call, just very basic, skeleton. And I like Maureen's idea of being able to, send like, here's the discussion of like what I brought up.
Yep.
I still have not heard back from Randy on how we're supposed to compile all this data and the legality around all of that. I'm going to assume we're going to need to upload the information to MS Teams into like our committee folders. Have all of you been able to access any of that, or do you know how to get there?
no, I haven't.
Okay.
Right.
You know how to? So
I'm going to need help.
Okay, so I can get there, but what I don't know how to do is load materials into the folders. That's what's the piece I can't get. Everything else I got.
That's a really good beginning. If you know how to get there, that's good.
Yeah. I tried. I didn't get very far.
Okay. It's not a great system. It's not intuitive. Just so you know.
I know.
I hate it.
Can I just say one more thing about the minutes, if I may, Paul? Is that okay?
Yeah.
I just want to say, it's hard in all these meetings because we don't have a minutes taker for the subcommittees, and we are not secretaries to each other. So I suggested what I did to make it easier, and then everybody owns their own material, and it should be a reflection of what is important. And if you don't have a lot to say, you don't have to include it. Everybody doesn't have to speak, you know. But anyway, that's just why I didn't mean to put a burden on anyone. I just felt I didn't want to put it on one person.
Right.
I like that,
if-
Maureen.
If
Yeah.
if you could submit those to me after, in a timely manner, then I can also give that to Olivia and we can compile that together.
Okay,
Does that sound like a process?
it's
Sure.
a go.
Okay. So besides elected salaries, are there any other things you want to bring up besides elected salaries? Or salaries, I should say. Yeah. Patty?
Oh, the scope of the of our committee, I'm not totally, I mean, my idea of this committee is to make sure that there are things in process, not that we kind of decide what salaries are and things like that, but that there is an HR process for the county, which, I don't know that much about the county, but it was very important that that was there. And I don't know what other things that this committee has as its scope. So I would appreciate that knowledge.
Sure. We can review what was submitted by the rest of the commissioners for what our committee should cover.
Yeah.
I can share my screen at whenever Paul thinks is appropriate, and we can totally go over what's been submitted, and any suggestions from us, of course, can be added.
Right. So reviewing the materials, I've sent, hopefully you've received a paper that at the top says Department Heads versus Elected Officials 2021 Salaries. Do you have that?
Do
If
you want me to
not,
put it up on the
I
screen?
do.
and also Olivia can put it up on the screen if you wish.
So Paul, question for you.
Yes.
Are we going to go right to salaries, or are we going to go through this list?
Well, I was going to move on to review the scope of the committee and review materials.
Right.
That's where I'm at right now.
Okay, but we just introduced the salaries as a topic, right?
Yes.
And we have this list that's on our priority lists. So are we going to start with salaries?
Well, let's talk about that. So we have personnel, county procedures, and public records. Those are the three that are listed for the subcommittee. Is there any, and want to bring up any other topic besides salaries? No?
For today, I'm fine covering that. If you want, we can do an overview of what we're going to do, maybe session for the next couple weeks, and then we can launch into that.
Would you rather do that now? Overview?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's do
Yeah,
an
that
overview.
sounds good.
Okay.
All
So
right.
where do you want to go with the overview?
I'm going to share my screen, and then we can look at what everyone has submitted. How about that?
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, let me know when you can see my screen, okay?
I can
Yep,
see the
there it
screen.
is.
You got it.
So, Paul, do you want, I can make this bigger, I think.
Can you scroll down on it?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Get to our committee. There we go, operations.
There it is.
Okay, so some of these are redundant, but that's okay. We'll go through it.
Yeah, this was operations continued. So it starts up here, operations,
Yeah.
county personnel, public records. And then it has another one about my submission about transparency and having a database that's
Okay, there it goes.
viewable to the public.
Yep.
Okay.
So just an idea, do we want to kind of set a date on these topics of like, hey, you know, this weekend we're going to talk about this weekend we're going to talk about this, just because we still haven't really figured out when we're going to submit final draft.
So is
Do we wanna
everybody
do that?
comfortable doing this on Saturdays for a period of time?
Yes, I am.
Okay, that's good. And Olivia, you're available too?
Yep.
Good. So looking at this, any of you want to bring up some things that you want to talk about or how you want to do this over a period of time on an overview?
So my first comment would be that the first one listed, section 4.10, is really a wandering suggestion that doesn't, listing the names and all of that doesn't really help us with any charter change.
Mhm.
This is just something that is information. So I would just say, hold that up to the bottom of the list because that's coming up as we go along. We've
Okay.
already seen the organizational chart with some names on it. We don't need to do that first one. I think, that's my opinion.
How do the rest of you feel? You okay with that?
Yeah, the charter probably isn't a place to have that information in it because it sort of sets it in cement.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to go on to the next one, talking about personnel system?
Yeah. Okay, so this was originally my idea, and this can be solved very, very easily. And it's really adding a sentence or two in the personnel manual to the section on personnel system, which I think if I review it really quickly, I can give you the number of it.
Article 8.
Article 8. And what I've become aware of from working at the county and since then, other people telling me, sometimes department head, elected official departments operate a little bit outside of the personnel system. They like to make their own rules as they go along and they don't always follow it. So what has been suggested to me by former council and other people is just add some language to the purpose that says, essentially, we have one personnel manual, we are one county, one manual, and these things apply to everyone. And I think that's easily solved. And if you'd like me to just draft that, and I'll send it in my comments, my thing, I'd be happy, because that's all that needs. Is that okay?
Sure.
It's a great
Maureen,
idea.
you want to do that this today, or do you want to do it next Saturday, next meeting?
I will, if I may, if it's okay with you, Paul, I'll put it in my my minute summary,
Mhm.
and then everybody gets it, and then we can use it as a recommendation to the full commission to pass. So we're not going to pass it. We're just going to recommend it to the full commission.
Oh, no, well, that's clear. Yes,
Okay.
sure. Do you want to do that today, or do you want to do that next week and talk about it with our subcommittee?
Yeah. How about if I write it up, send it in, and then we can discuss it at our next meeting, and we can like check it off of our list.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see, we're going up from there.
The next one.
Reinforcing diversity, anti-bullying, respect. Sharon?
That would be specifically in the personnel manual.
Say that again. I didn't hear you, Olivia.
That would be specifically in the personnel manual. So I think that's outside of our scope.
So it's true that we're doing the charter, and I'm not sure that we have, the charter itself dictates what's in the personnel manual, but it needs to be there.
We can make suggestions to the commissioners,
There you
but
go.
Well, isn't this going to be handled in this new preamble? The preamble is going to include
Yeah.
language that kind of
Yeah.
setting a tone
Yes.
for the whole thing.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
That's true.
Is that really in our purview then?
mm,
Not in ours.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on then.
Here, let me
So-
make sure that it got put somewhere up in theirs.
Well, it is. I'm on that committee.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, there you go.
No
Patty
need to
can make sure
continue
that-
to, okay. Back to operations. All right, here's where
So,
we're at.
yeah, I guess it is. Department employee satisfaction with the current chain of command, protection from executive pressures. What is that about?
Well, there's another one below it that's sort of the same thing.
Ombudsman, yeah. Or
No, I mean, a little bit below that, there's another
Okay.
one by Kyle that says evaluate and potentially expand employee evaluation status for county manager. I
think
think that's,
that- Yeah. Hmm.
So, but isn't that sort of part of an ombudsperson kind of thing, so that the employee has a place to go if they have a problem with the management, rather than going directly to the manager with your problem? I mean, that may be what this is about. I don't know.
yeah. I don't know.
It sounds a little bit like the employees want a way to evaluate their management if they have issues. And, you know, I don't know anything about how the county is operating right now under their manager, but maybe if there are issues, that's what this is directing.
Well, the question is this committee going to want to talk about that ombudsman? Is that something we want to do, or something we feel that we should in our committee?
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think we should.
So you want to do that the next meeting too as well?
Yes.
Okay. Move on.
These two are pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, again, this was coming from and I don't know how I wrote it in there that way, because it sounds like I'm insane. The point here is I went through the charter, and there really isn't anything in the charter about records. And
Right.
here's my grudge. We have a person hired full-time to do record requests. And that's fairly new in the last 5 or 10 years, but not even 10 years, 5 years. And that's because the county was not forthcoming with information to public requests. So when I worked there, I scanned and scanned and scanned documents that allegedly were going to be put in a major database with software the county purchased. And it was in the county council's office and also in the planning department. And think about it. In the planning department, with all the records that they have on historical land uses and property lines, if that were access to the public, the public would be satisfied to look it up themselves, find things, and not go to the not have to show up at the counter and fight with a planner. And it just seems like a sensible thing to me. And they've never done it. All the amount of time I spent and the money they spent on scanning documents and never got it. So to me, again, this is a simple fix. We develop a record keeping system, or just say there must be a record keeping system, that all records be available to the public, and that it be promptly, as Tom said, they should be furnished promptly. How about if we handle it like that?
I think that would be very worthwhile.
So again, I don't have all the wording on this, but I'd be happy to take a stab at it, draft something up, put it into my minute notes, and let you guys have at it. Okay.
I've been thinking a lot about this, Maureen, because I know that you and I have discussed this before, before we were commissioners. And I think that it could be under section 10.4 that we can add this specifically. I've been really thinking about where we can input this.
Yeah.
You know, how can we make this not just some general department, but where can we input this? Because I don't know if you all have seen the video about how there was the issue on Lopez. Have any of you seen this?
What video?
Public records. and it was a wetlands issue. Fantastic. I'll send you a link. It's great.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Um,
Because we have enough on San Juan on these public records issues, on wetland.
Yep, there's a lot of public records issues. The one thing that I heard, I brought this up to someone who has retired from the county, that this is a suggestion that's been made. And I asked, what do you think? And they said that, you know, at first this could be a total nightmare for the county, where they get sued and sued and sued and sued and sued, because there could be discrepancies or people deciding that there is a discrepancy. But honestly, it's already happening.
Yeah.
So if we can get ahead of it to create a system that makes things more transparent, then in the future, say in 10 years after things shake out and people get used to things being public to everyone and making it easy and accessible, there might be less problems down the road. That's how I kind of see it, is that there are going to be people who are going to sue the county either way. You know, they're gonna do that. That's, if they want to, they can try, and they'll continue to do that, you know.
Yeah.
But if the records were more easily accessible, maybe the county wouldn't have to fork out so much money to pay them for not, you know, facilitating the records.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
and
Well, that's the point of this for me, that because I saw it up close and personal, and it didn't seem right that we the county spent money to
how much?
make a better system and then drop the idea and have it go be a loss of money, and the records are not available. So
Boom. I
boom,
love
boom.
this. Tom Starr, the next one, 10.5, information management. Yeah, 10.4 or 10.5. It's already in the charter. There's just basically no information.
Yep.
So those are areas where we can do this. And
Very good.
we
So-
get this on the ballot. I'm just saying it's gonna pass. Like,
Yeah.
I-
It's a standalone, but I will be happy to draft something up. It won't be perfect, but you can have a look at it, and then we can maybe get more people to input into it. Okay.
yeah.
You want to go on to the next one so we can kind of take a look at the whole picture?
Yep. Yep.
Mine pretty much goes into the exact same thing. So the county should establish a database that's accessible to the public for free. The same thing that Maureen was saying. And then transparency in public records was submitted by Kyle Davies. So
let's
It
put that in. Yeah, let's lump that together. And so I just
Yeah.
have that under records. in
Yep.
general.
Yep.
yep,
Yep.
Okay, you want to keep on going down, or do we get through them all?
that's it.
Oh, okay, good.
Now we can do salary. Let's talk salary. now.
Okay.
I'm gonna put salary in here.
Are we in agreement? We
review.
want to talk about salary today?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
I didn't realize that was within our scope.
I didn't either.
well, I guess we don't know until we ask, right?
Mhm.
I mean, how do you put salaries in the charter? Except as to keep them under one system maybe, and or what was suggested was that it would be a percentage of the judges or whatever, you know, that you set the caps, and maybe that's how we can do it in the
Yeah,
charter.
so let's talk about that. And if you don't mind, Olivia, can you put up the one I sent out on department heads versus elected officials and some salaries there? Do you have that one?
That good? Is that big enough?
Yeah, I can't see it yet.
What about now?
No.
I don't see anything.
What do
Oh,
you
maybe-
see?
Does everybody have that one in front of you?
I have a
Well,
copy. of
if
it.
you can stop sharing your screen, I can go back
Here we go.
to my other.
I figured it out.
Oh,
She's
that better?
she's a
Yeah,
smart
yeah.
girl.
You have to stop sharing and then choose the next document you want to share. Forgot
I'll
about
never
that.
stop sharing.
Is there a
Good.
way, this is just, when you guys share screens, then it comes and takes up my whole screen, and so I can't, do anything else. Is there a way
So-
to stop that?
Yes. Okay. So are you on a Mac or are you on a
Yes,
PC?
Mac.
A Mac. Okay. So let me look at the button. I have a Mac laptop. Are you on a laptop?
Nope,
Okay. On your keyboard? top left corner, click ESC, escape.
Escape, okay.
And what does
Okay,
it do?
well, then you're gone.
So then that has a bunch of options for you, correct?
No. I mean, when I did escape, you went away.
Okay, so
Let's
that
see.
means that we went down into Zoom completely, which should be somewhere down here on your computer. At the bottom, you're going to see the blue icon that looks like a little video camera.
I've not found it yet, but let me see.
Okay.
Oh, there it
My-
is. Yeah,
Great.
got it. Okay, I
Click on
got you
that.
back.
Great. So you can make this smaller. So you can exit full screen. How can we do that?
Right-hand corner,
Possibly the right-hand corner.
upper right-hand corner.
Mhm.
The view.
Yes,
Okay, exit full screen.
there you go. And now you can get smaller and bigger and make it so you can like put the meeting on one half of the page and then pull up a document on the other.
Like
Thank
Alice
you.
in Wonderland.
And we can see
Thank
your
you.
smiling faces as well, see? So,
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, got it.
okay, you want to start discussion then?
Yes,
Can I give you a little background on how we arrived at this piece of paper?
yes.
Yeah, seriously.
So, I called Mylene Henley to talk about this, and the reason why I did that is because I've talked to a couple of the elected officials, and they were talking about the span between the salaries of appointed versus elected has become wider and wider over time.
Hmm.
So there's a little frustration, basically, on the elected department heads that you see their salaries falling quite a bit behind the appointed. So talking to Mylene, she pointed out a few of the, not all, but a few of the appointed, and those are listed on there with the Public Works Director, 13180, 800. You can see it there, Community Development, 130. IT, 121, 121. So, and there are others, of course. So I just did the average of those two, which comes to 126, 726. Then I said, well, what are the elected officials paid this year? And she looked it up and she said $97,000.
Big difference.
Quite a
I have a
bit.
question.
And the sheriff is, you can see they're listed at 125 and change. So also in Mylene's discussion, she pointed out that many counties have already adopted a procedural thing where they use a percentage of the salary of the Superior Court judge. And she didn't say anything about Skagit, but I went to Skagit and I went to see if they had one, and they do. So that's
Yeah.
what I printed for you,
Yeah,
showing you the percentages of how they pay their elected officials based on the Superior Court judge. So that would be the other things you have. Okay.
got it.
Okay. So in reviewing this, I did a little compilations here. If you take a look at the Skagit County salary structure using a percentage of the Superior Court judge, the Superior Court judge is also I sent you, excuse me, I'm kind of interrupting this. This morning I sent you RCW 4303012, which is has to do with the schedule of salaries put out by the state. Did you receive that?
No.
Yeah. Do you want me to pull it up?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, go ahead and pull it up.
Did you just send it before the meeting?
I did.
Oh, I didn't look at it then.
Okay,
There you go.
thank you. Oh, let's see. No, what I'm looking for is the
The other.
RCW.
Sorry.
salaries of judges.
We have the elected officials and then there's something else.
There we go.
That's
Yeah,
like
that
I
that.
didn't see this.
Yeah, okay.
So if you look down, you can see there's, I know that's kind of confusing to look at, but on the left-hand side, you see a number 1, 2, and 3.
Uh-huh,
And those are different dates, right?
uh-huh.
So the latest one is 2020, number 3. And then scroll down underneath that and you can look for Superior Court judges at 199,675. Do you see that figure?
Uh-huh.
So it appears that that's where it is for 2020. And of course, in 21, this comes out in July. So in another couple of months, the state will come out with probably a different figure. And then from there, counties just plug in the percentages for their elected officials, and that's what they get for the following year. It's going to be flexible. It moves from year to year.
Yeah, those are pretty hefty increases.
Well, to the Superior Court judge.
Yeah.
Now that's true. So I took the 2020 Superior Court judge figure, 199,675, and plug those into what I thought could be representative for the elected officials as well as the sheriff. And I'm using Skagit County format to kind of look at this it's a very subjective pattern. I realize that, but you have to start from somewhere, right? So I took the 199,675, and before I need to talk about one further. I'm sorry, I have to break off here. Go back up to the Public Works and Community Development salary of 131,800, and then
You
drop
mean from
down.
our county?
Our county. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going back and forth. And the IT person is 121,652. So essentially, I'm trying to find an average in between there where I thought elected officials might be plugged in. And so I took 65%. Let's see, it just comes out about 124,140. And I thought maybe that might be a starting point for elected officials. However, having said that, Mylene seemed to think that the assessor and the auditor are quite a bit different in terms of the workload and the types of things that are performed in those two departments. She thought should be paid a little bit more than the treasurer and the clerk. So in past years, all four of those elected officials are all been the same. So that, I'm just reflecting what Mylene is saying.
Can I say something, Paul?
Please.
So there is such a thing called the Citizen Salary Commission.
Right.
And they are the commission in our county that set the salaries for elected officials.
As well.
So when the last commission met and we made the majority voted on making the county council position full-time instead of part-time, we had to set a salary based on what we examined all over the different counties in Washington. And we submitted it to the Citizen Salary Commission and they approved it. And it was a start of $75,000 for a full-time council, meaning each three, went back to 3, full-time, 75. So they're the ones that determine what electeds can get. I don't think we have any power over it.
Can we, the problem seems to be elected versus appointed. Can we have any say over, or can they have a say over what the appointed salaries are? Can we make that more of a standard? Because it does seem to be unfair that there's these two systems.
Well, let me add one more thing about the Citizen Salary Commission. Because I've got another piece of paper for you. I wrote to James Wolfe because he is the HR person who works with the Citizen Salary Commission. And I said, how do I, what's the salary range for electeds? Oh, well, we don't have it and we don't have descriptions and we don't have this and that. So I went online and for the Citizen Salary Commission, and there's nothing on the county website about them.
The only thing that they have is this right here in the organizational chart.
Right. But when you go on to the county website, they have old videos of some of their meetings goes back to 2016. So I rewrote him. He sent me something that I'm going to send to you. I think I just got it on Friday and I haven't bothered to do much with it. It's very revealing, and it has everything, and it has comparisons with other counties. So we'll have this conversation again, and we'll have more information.
But it's not uploaded on the website.
No, that's I don't have it loaded up on that in the files yet. And
So, Paul,
Yeah.
when you were doing all of this research, where did you see the correlation to how we can do something within the charter with all of this data? What you thinking? Because I'm sure you had a plan.
Well, it's pretty rough plan, but basically I was thinking that in the charter, we could put in basically what the Skagit County folks have already done and plugging in 8% of the Superior Court judge as a basis to paying our elected officials.
Would you put that under Article 1?
Article 1, I'm not sure.
Powers of the county. I've got the charter in front
okay,
of me.
okay.
So I'm just thinking of, placement. So the last couple of topics we've covered, it was clear like, okay, we could write something and place it in here. Have you taken a look at overall where you would suggest putting this in the
No,
charter?
I have not.
it might be Article 4 too.
Or 7?
Yeah, and maybe Randy would be a good person to ask
Yeah.
that of.
Mhm.
Do
Yes,
we
that-
have a way of addressing the discrepancy between appointed and elected?
Probably
Well,
going to their people.
The way I would do
County
it,
Commission.
the way I would do it would be that the Charter Review Commission would collectively write a memorandum to the Citizen Salary Commission and point out the differential and say, this is not right. And we would really like you to correct it and give them some ways to do it.
So did Mike Thomas appoint all of these people on the Citizen Salary Commission?
No, no, the council appoints all the commissions. But I don't even know who's on it because there's no list of them on there.
So we don't even know who they are.
Nope.
So let me,
County doesn't-
let me also throw in, if you don't mind, the salary for the prosecuting attorney, which I do believe that he is also a percentage of the Superior Court judge. So, I mean, if you want to list elected officials, and you can also list the prosecuting attorney as well, or anyone else that would be a candidate for representing these salaries. So we're talking elected officials. We can broad that out a little bit more and bring in the prosecuting attorney as well.
So Paul, the information that James Wolfe just sent me has a breakout of the prosecuting attorney's salary, and it's like a 56% state paid, and the rest is paid by our county.
Hmm.
I mean, I think Randy's paid 190 some thousand, and it's divided. And you'll see it on this paperwork. And I'm so sorry I didn't send it.
Well,
Right.
is that still something that you think we can address in the charter?
I think we should. It's operations.
Yeah, I do too. So it's just a matter of, first of all, is it something we can put in a charter? And secondly, how would we do that? Do we do something similar like Skagit has and plug in percentages? I think the prosecuting attorney, that's pretty well locked in. I don't know if we can say anything about it because I think the percentages are pretty similar throughout the state, although we should investigate that.
Sounds like we have some homework.
Yeah. Yeah, good going, Olivia. I think part of the problem here, and it may be just in my head, and I might be wrong about this, but some of the people who have these very large salaries as department heads have been with the county a long time. So they've had COLAs, they've had increases, and their salary is kicked up and kicked up and kicked up. And I think that's how it's gotten so high. Although IT 10 years ago was like 2 people. And now and nobody got paid this much then. So anyway, there's a huge change, and clearly they've done some kind of studies, salary, what do you call it when they do a review? They bring in an outside group to do a review of all that had some impact on where they started setting this rate.
So the IT department, does anyone know how many people are in that department?
I think there's like 7 or 8.
And
Oh,
do they
really?
all live in San Juan County?
No.
So they're using outside resources. And then the IT department head, what does he do? Because he's getting paid a lot.
He runs the show.
Well, you know what? The website sucks and needs upgrades. So
Yeah.
if the county's gonna fork out that much money, they need to figure it out and fix it.
I'm with
Like,
you.
I'm
with
just
you on
gonna
that.
be really honest, like, this
Yeah.
is ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
it's, if the county is gonna spend that much money on an individual to run a department and that's your job, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you're going to hear from James Wolf, and we'll have to bring him in as a somebody to interview. You're going to hear that this is comparable, or it is within the realm
Yeah.
of what they're paying now.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that's what's kind of cool about having Skagit County as a place to find out how they're doing their elected official salaries. And
Mhm.
it makes sense. And that once you've got that plugged in to the Superior Court judge income and you got a percentage, that can move in this flexible year after year after year. And so
Right.
Yeah.
to me, it's logical.
Thank you, Paul, for
But we're
doing all
still-
that research.
We're still only addressing the electeds,
This is
and
huge.
I don't know how, or even if it's possible to make them more, I don't know, equivalent to the appointeds. And apparently the appointeds have a system that they go back on, because you alluded to this, the cost of living increases and being in the system for a long time. I know at the University of Washington, you'd get to the top and you were stuck there. I mean, there were maybe cost of living increases, but no more step increases. So I just don't know.
Patty, thank you for jogging my memory. That was a question that I had for you when you were talking to Mylene. The numbers that you
Mhm.
gathered, are those, you know, I know that they still have a tiered level, correct? Like entry level, it's a pay scale.
You
Like, is
know-
that the top tier of the pay scale for
It's not-
each position? Like, say, Public Works.
Mylene didn't go there. All she did was tell me what they are paid this year. And she
Ah.
didn't talk about a scale of whatever. So I can't address that.
Okay.
I mean, we were basically talking about disparity between the elected and appointed. That's how this conversation started.
Mhm. Well,
And-
that's clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is clear. So next question,
Yeah.
is there anything we can
Big,
do
it's
about
big.
it?
Mhm.
So I just took the 199,675, which is the 2020 Superior Court judge, and I just plugged in some percentages to see what they look like, to see if we can bring up elected to somewhat comparable to appointed. And if you take 65% of that figure for the sheriff, it comes to 129,788. He's presently paid 125, so it's not a big change, but some change. The assessor and auditor at 63% of the 199,675 comes to 125,795.
Big increase.
Yeah.
Well, yes, and if we're going to bring them up to comparables, then it would be some increase. And the treasurer and clerk would be at 60% of the 199,000, which brings their salary to 119,805.
So you're getting these percentages where?
My head.
Okay.
He's making
Impressive.
them up. But it's a good exercise.
Yeah, well, that's it,
You know, it is.
So,
I don't know that we can do. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I really don't have more to say. I'm just trying to find a intermediate ground that we can kind of compare the appointed to the elected.
Mhm.
And the impact of this is quite huge, actually, because the county right now is existing with these lower paid elected officials. And if we're going to give them what amounts to large increases, that certainly has an impact on the county budget.
But it's something that's going on.
I lost all picture here,
Oh,
Let me just
but I
say,
can hear you.
when I was county assessor, Cy Stevens was the auditor. And of course, all four of those elected departments, from the clerk, the auditor, the treasurer, and the assessor, all work together. So whenever it came to a salary increase, Cy was very concentrated on his pocketbook. I shouldn't probably say that, but it's fairly true.
Yeah.
And he looked after himself, and so we kind of just hooked onto him, and we had
There you
our
go.
salaries between appointed and elected wasn't that far apart back in the day.
Uh-huh.
But over the last 15 years, that expansion has grown and grown more and more and more between the two. So that's kind of where we're at today.
Well, remember the other night when we had Mike Thomas, and Mike was asked whether he would choose to be an elected, and he vehemently said no.
No,
Yeah.
that
Now
was,
you can kind of put that piece together. Why would he do that
Exactly.
for $97,000?
I didn't even think about it at the time. I just thought, oh yeah, he doesn't want to run for office, but the salary discrepancies are huge.
They
And
are-
remember, when you're the county manager, you come through a headhunter's thing. You have a contract, you have an umbrella clause, you have all kinds of a benefit package. And when you leave, you get 6 months pay. So it's a very hefty contract for a these guys are mercenaries. They go around working in all these different counties. That's how it works.
I was just going to say that the county, like any other business, want to attract people here to San Juan County,
Yeah.
wants to put on an attractive salary to attract people. And so that's the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
And also the other side of the coin is there's no better place to live. So why do we have to pay them to come?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I loop back to something that we were like, oh, this isn't within our scope? I think I found it.
What's that?
So the submission from Sharon about adding language to personnel manual reinforcing diversity and anti-bullying and respect.
Right.
It wouldn't necessarily need to go under their personnel manual, but in section 2.42, it says interactions with county employees. There is room for putting in some information about anti-bullying between the employees.
Yeah.
If you want, I'll submit something to you guys about that, because
Yeah. I think that's a perfectly appropriate thing.
it's not necessarily the diversity or respect and anti-bullying could easily be added in here.
Mhm.
Well, it's also part of that opening statement about what the county represents, I think.
Yes.
It can be repeated throughout.
Totally.
So I'm thinking about what do we do about this? And I think that I'm going to send you this other information. It's going to fit well with what Paul has already calculated. But I think the only thing we can do is make a recommendation to the larger commission and maybe develop, like I said, a memorandum to the council, to the Citizen Salary Commission, addressing these disparities and say, we the citizens don't feel that this is fair and just in whatever way we want to say it.
Yeah.
But that might be a powerful punch.
I think that would be appropriate. Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Maureen.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for doing all this homework.
Well, there's some loose areas around here, but it's just a point of discussion. So how we want to move from that is entirely up to us.
Yeah.
Okay, are we pretty much closing down on this for now?
I am making notes. So what I just did was I took the information in the spreadsheet of what our group was going to cover, and I'm here. Let me just show you if that's okay.
Sure.
Just to kind of keep us on track for, like, if we're not going to have minutes, this might be a good way for us to keep track of, like, okay, we said we're going to do this, so here's a good way for us to view this. So when I sent out an Excel spreadsheet before, do you guys know how to look at an Excel spreadsheet and look at data? Just making sure, because some people don't have Excel on their computers as well. So it might be easier for me to send something in a PDF form, just thinking of what's easy.
Excel's good. Excel's good.
Excel is good?
Yeah.
Are you okay with that, Maureen?
I can do either.
Okay, because I know at one point you hadn't been able to access something that I sent out. And so I was thinking, like, should I send it in a PDF form or Excel.
I am finding that this Microsoft 365 is tricky for me. I can't open things. I can't, and for some reason, attachments don't stay within email. They say on the left side of the streaming of the emails, but they don't appear on the actual email when you open it, and it's bizarre. So I'm fighting it and winning sometimes, but it's
Yes,
complicated.
and I just
Honest-
upgraded mine to 365 also, so I'm having the same problems.
Yeah.
Do you both want to stay on after the meeting? I've got like half hour if you want to share your screen so I can see what's going on and
Sure.
see if I can help you figure out how to fix that.
Sure.
I've never
I really need your help in loading materials onto that Teams site. That's one of the things I would love, because I've got a ton of material that hasn't gone in yet.
Okay.
I would like a lesson in Teams also, please.
Okay. I think Kyle is giving a full lesson in Teams, but I can show you just like a brief thing after the meeting if you want. It's not too complicated. You just got to know what to click.
I think we all could use the lesson, so that'd be great.
So, all this great stuff, Paul, that you've done needs to go under the operations folder so we can
Yes.
keep it as a record of our discussion.
Sure, okay.
So what I just did was, can you see me moving stuff? Okay.
Yes.
So I created, this is a new column. So from the 2/27/21 meeting, we decided to push this to later. Maureen's going to submit information. So basically, what are we doing about each of these topics that we just went through? And
Right.
then discussion. And then how do you guys want to follow up with salaries? Do we want to look at the charter and see, which section could we add this to and some basic wording maybe? Or next
Before you
steps?
do that, Olivia, could you put the records thing? I'm going to write something up, and both including Tom's piece and mine. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay.
You want to know where should we put salary information?
What do we want to do for homework on this salary discussion as individually for next week? What do we want to come to the table with?
I want to send you what James Wolfe sent me, because I think it'll be enlightening. And I think we might pick it up from there and start pulling that apart, because it's got real specifics about the players in our county.
Good idea, Maureen.
WOLFE?
No, just Wolf.
Okay.
As in.
So do you want to continue conversations on salaries on our next meeting?
Yeah, I guess so.
I think so.
Okay,
Because when we make a recommendation, I think we really want to be a lead voice in what we're saying here so that they
Yeah.
get it.
thank you, Maureen.
Okay, so it seems like public records, we'll do a lighter green. Public records, just identifying topics. That's about public records and
Yep.
public records.
Yep.
And then salaries is its own thing. I'm a color person. I like color. You can't
I
tell.
love it. They're beautiful.
Let's do salaries. And then
Am I blue?
all right, so evaluation and potential expand employee evaluation satisfaction process for county manager. How do we want to handle that? I think
Well, that's the
only-
same as the one above it that you will submit a 2.42 on.
Got it. Okay. Just thinking of, okay, these are our topics, and that'll be an easy way for us to report to the full commission of the topics we're gonna come together on.
Olivia, you might consider in your write-up of that, that we just recommend an assigned person
Mhm.
to be that person accountable for reporting that. Just
Yeah.
somebody, a body.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do a purple. All right. Where are we on our agenda, Paul?
Well, it looks like we're about ready to wrap it up, and not quite 5 minutes to 10. So can we do a wrap up now and kind of put together what we might want to cover in this next meeting?
Absolutely.
Salaries being number one, we know that.
Mhm.
And do you want to go at the top here? Let's see, personnel system, Article 8. Do you want to move to there also next week?
Okay, I'll have that written.
Okay. I don't know how much time this is going to take for these topics, so I don't want to get too many in there. I want to make sure we have plenty of time to discuss these. So do you think 2's enough, or do we want to go further?
Well, I'm curious about the ombudsman thing. We need to respond to that. What do you guys think?
Well, I think Paul is talking about what can we do next week, and maybe we should divide that up and push it to the week after or something. I think it's very important.
Well, it's a big topic, and if we do salaries and personnel, and then what?
Well, we can go to a ombudsman and see if we can squeeze it in. If not, we'll schedule that the following week.
Yeah, or make it continued discussion.
Yeah. So what do you think?
And then
That's
put
fine.
records farther out into the future then?
I think records doesn't require a whole bunch more unless you dispute
True.
what I've written and you want to rewrite it, which I'm totally okay with.
No, like it. Okay.
It's simple. And so is personnel. Just add language, and records create language, and then we're done with those two.
Mm-hmm.
So if we put down these 3 topics, operation salaries and personnel, Article 8 that you're talking about, and we can also put ombudsman in there, and if there's time, we can talk about it. If not, we'll move it to the following week. Does
Okay.
that sound like a plan?
Looks great for me.
Okay. Sounds good. And
This was really good.
Yes.
Olivia, can we get a copy of what you just made changes on the total
Oh, yeah,
thing here? That'd be great.
absolutely. Yeah, no problem.
Does anybody else have anything you'd like to talk about today? It's been a great discussion.
Yeah.
This has been, I think we're pushing through this.
Paul, do you feel prepared to share a brief overview at our next meeting? Because that's in the agenda that'll be sent out soon. Is we're going to get updates from our leaders from our committees for about 5 minutes or so of like, how's it going? What are your group's topics? You know, do you feel comfortable with what we've talked about to share?
Oh, I'd rather have somebody else do that, but I'm not. Does anybody want to volunteer? Patty, do you feel like you can do that? Marie?
I can do it. Olivia can do it. I mean, it's
Yeah, I know, I can do it, but it's.
Oh,
Well, okay, how about, are you okay with that, Olivia?
Sure.
Oh, sure.
Sure.
Thank you,
I can
Olivia.
do things. No problem. Ooh, I just heard back from Randy. Cool. I wonder what he has to say.
Saturday morning.
Woo. Well, I guess that's what happens when you make that much money. Oh yeah, I'm gonna send you guys that meeting.
So
I mean, I understand what it's like to be on salary, but
yeah, really. Big
well,
salary.
I'm really happy that you folks are willing to talk about salaries, because I think that's something we should pay attention to.
yeah.
Definitely.
And just to tie it up here, I told you, it says we may be a small group, but we are mighty. We are mighty. Thank you, folks.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Does anybody else
I'll
have?
get my notes to you today.
Okay.
I just have a question. How are we going to get our lesson from Olivia about teams?
Oh,
We're gonna stop record. We're gonna motion to leave,
Ah,
motion to end, and then just stay on, and I'm gonna stop recording.
Thank you.
all right. Do we have a motion to leave?
I
say
move that we,
move.
okay, a second.
All right. All in favor, say
Meeting
aye.
adjourned.
Hi.
All right.
Aye. All right, I'm gonna stop recording.